Hello, I am Bentham and welcome to Factorio, and what I'm going to do today is tell you a little bit about these burner inserters. Now, it's pretty simple how they work. They're inserters. They move things from one location, in this case here, to another location, in this case here, as most inserters do. And you know, there's various different types of inserter, and the particular thing about this inserter is that it uses a solid fuel. Now, that means that it's particularly useful at the beginning of the game when you don't yet have a power system set up, so you'll want to use it to move things around until you've got your steam engines working and so on and so forth. But from there on, you don't really use it anymore. You sort of discard it because there is one fatal flaw, which is that you have to keep refueling it. And you know, that's not... Factorio is about automating. How do you automate a system when anything that moves something from one thing to another, apart from, of course, conveyors, needs to be refueled every 5 minutes? So, of course, once you're anywhere, once you have a power system, you pretty much discard them and start to use the electric ones, because it makes a lot more sense. However, in the latest update, things have changed a bit. So, the version that we are now in is 0.10.0 at the time of recording. And the important thing that has happened is that in this update, they've allowed burner inserters to fuel themselves in a way which I will explain, and that means that there are a lot more applications for it now, a lot more long-term applications. You'll be able to use this in an endgame base, potentially, for certain things, of course. And so I'm going to talk you through the specifics of these things and help you to fully understand all of the possibilities that you can now get from burner inserters. Now, a quick little note. Because this is the first version of the 0.10 update, it's possible that since now changes have been made, and I expect there may be one or two changes, and so make sure you have annotations on, because of course if there are any changes, I will add annotations into the video to correct anything that has since changed. To make sure you're entirely up to date. For example, there will be an annotation right now if there has been an update which has changed anything. There it is, or not, depending. So now we'll get into the details of how it works and then the uses that you can now give it. So first of all, let's see what fuels an inserter. So if we step here, you see we have solid fuel, wood, and coal. All three of these, well, these are the three solid fuels. They will fuel all sorts of things like trains, cars, and furnaces, and things like that. And of course, they will fuel inserters, because that's burner inserters, of course. So here we have one, and we'll just put that down there. And as you can see that at the moment, it is not powered, because of course it has no fuel. Now, if we grab ourselves some coal, pop it in there, you can see it grabbed some coal and put it into itself. Now let me just grab there we go, a conveyor, and there you can see it's starting to take things out of the coal chest and put it onto the line. And if we look in here, you can see that the power is depleting slowly, so the coal that was originally put in is burned away, but you see it's put another coal in it, and the reason for that is that it's the new system that they put in. Previously, burner inserters would ignore their own fueled state, but now, if they don't have any spare fuel in this box, they will put it into the box, rather than move it over to wherever they were moving it anyway. Like if we take this out, you can watch the animation on here. The coal that it was holding in its hand, it immediately changes its mind about what it's doing with it and puts it into itself. So we'll do that again. You can see I can catch it as it's almost put it on the belt, and it pulls it back and puts it straight in. This will slowly deplete, and of course when that depletes, this coal will go into the bar, and then the box will be empty, and it will fill up again. Of course at this point the conveyor is filled up, so it stops moving. So you could do this with coal, you could do it with wood, you could do it with solid fuel. So if we go down here, you'll see we've got another one. So if we stick some coal in this one, then it will put the coal into itself, and it will start putting it into this chest, you see. And now here's an important thing. The chest is part of the reason that it is fueling itself. And maybe you'll be a bit confused by that, but if I go down here, we'll see here we have an assembler. And what I've told it to do is make burner inserters. A burner inserter is made out of, I believe, iron and iron gears. So if we put this burner inserter here, and then we go in and we put the coal in it, you can see it reaches out its arm, or stretches out, or whatever you want to say, but it doesn't grab anything. And just in case you were thinking that the conveyor belt wasn't far enough, nope, still nothing. And that is the problem with the burner inserters. It's a thing that I think they might change. So Q annotation, if there is one, we can stick it here where there's a big old space, because at the moment, if they don't need to put, well, if they're not asked to put the fuel into something, they won't pick it up, and if they don't pick it up, they won't fuel themselves. And that means that even though all this coal is coming along here, because this doesn't want coal, it's not picking up coal at all. So if there was iron going into this, it would pick it up and put it into the machine, and it would keep doing that until it ran out. And that's the big problem, because that immediately limits what you can do with these inserters. I mean, they were more limited before, and they're now less limited, but there is still the problem that unless they are asked to move coal from one place to another, they will not pick it up and won't fuel themselves and run out and die. But there is a solution. So if we grab this burner inserter here, turn it round, stick it here, feeding into this one, and you may think, well, this could just go on forever, but it won't. Like, if we build ourselves a splitter here, we turn this round, put it here, so you see the coal's now feeding into here. Now if we put one coal in this, it will load itself up with coal, and then once more coal turns up, which it isn't doing, let's grab the coal out of here, stick it here, and once it comes down, you can see it picks it up and it fuels that inserter. And now maybe you can see what's going on here, because this inserter is requesting coal off this one, and because it means that this one can fuel both of these inserters. It will fuel that one because it wants to be fueled, and it will fuel itself because it's transporting the coal. And that means that it's not quite so limited. Basically, this is a way around the problem that they won't pick up fuel unless something else wants it, because you're basically putting both the needs of both of the inserters onto one. So that's pretty much it, actually, for how they operate. But of course, you may not be able to see yet the various possibilities, because you know that they can be a bit fiddly sometimes. But and you know, you might not be able to come up with an efficient design. Maybe you may be having trouble with that, and so I'm going to show you now some examples that I have actually used in my new 0.10 game. So now we'll go do that. Okay, so here you can see we have some miners, burner mining drills specifically, and they are over some coal, and at the moment they're unpowered. They're just sat there requesting fuel, and of course we could put some fuel in. Let's just stick some fuel in there, and then in a moment it will produce some coal, and the coal will go off somewhere else, and if you want you can collect it, put it back into the mining drill. Of course that is an annoying way of doing things, and you know, you could have well, I will now show you a way to make it so that you only have to put coal in one thing once, and then the whole thing will run until the coal supply itself runs out. So we have some inserters. Let's grab them. We'll stick them in here like this, and as you can see they are feeding from this belt into the mining drill, and of course the mining drill is feeding from here onto the belt. So you can see there's a cycle, but of course it doesn't take as much coal to mine coal. So if we get a piece of coal in here and also one in here, okay, I was wrong, you need to put it in two things. So there you go, you see the miner produced the coal, and the inserter picked up the coal and fueled itself, and now it's picking up the coal and fueling the miner, and so it will keep on cycling like that. And then the important thing is, once that eventually happens, once the miner is fully stocked with coal, the coal will continue on, and then it can be picked up by whatever system you want. And in this case the system I've used is more miners. Now I've realized I'm wrong again. You have to put in a couple of extra bits of coal. You have to put one piece of coal in each inserter, because the only way you can ever get an inserter to start moving is to put the first piece of coal in. But after that, it should be able to feed itself forever. So you can see now we've got 2 mining drills producing coal, and this one's filling this up twice as fast. And once it's finished fueling that, which is now, the coal will now go on, and now this one will fuel itself, and then fuel the mining drill. And then this mining drill will produce coal, and so on and so forth. And so you can have a whole system that just sort of sets off like a domino effect. All you need to do is put coal in each of the inserters, and then the first mining drill. Now, as you can see, the coal has moved on, and it's come to this belt here. And now here is a mining and smelting system. So, the way this works is that coal comes along this side of the belt, the left side, and here we have a bunch of miners, and it works sort of the same way as the coal mining system does, except that coal isn't what's being produced. The coal is coming from somewhere else, and the inserters are picking it up, putting it into the burner mining drills, and of course they're also fueling themselves as it goes. And then the miners produce ore. The ore is irrelevant to the system really, so the ore just carries on. And then here we have the smelting system, so you can see that of course coal and ore is being fed along, and of course that is what the steel furnaces require. So the inserters will put the coal and the ore into the furnace, and of course they will also put the coal into themselves to keep themselves fueled. And so the whole system will stay running, assuming you keep the supply of coal going. Now here is a bit of a problem with it. You can't use burner inserters to unload the copper because they're not fueled. If you wanted to do that, you would have to have the system as I showed you before, where you have 2 burner inserters, one of them siphoning off a coal supply. So if you had a burner inserter say this was a burner inserter, you have a burner inserter feeding into it, which has coal, so it will fill itself, it will fill this one, and then you would be able to have a burner inserter emptying out the furnaces. But of course, you know, it's a little bit fiddly, and that's sort of the problem with the system. What they really need is, well, actually, in this particular case, it can't really be helped, because there is no coal supply for these to tap into, even if they were programmed to grab it if they needed it. So it is a bit of a problem, and it means that it's difficult to have mining outposts that aren't connected to the system, because you still need a power. The whole point of doing this is to not have to use electricity, but of course you need it for these inserters, and therein lies the problem. So if we go down here, if it will stop autosaving, you can see we've got another bit of coal, and if we follow this along, you can see there's a train there, and so we have a burner inserter, and this can fuel the train. And of course this is a use that you can get out of it, because well, there you go, you see it went and grabbed it because the train has moved now. So of course, because it's moving a fuel into something that requires fuel, it can fuel itself. So you see there is another use of burner inserters, and this is a particularly good one because you don't usually need loading of fuel into a train to be fast. So you can use this the burner inserter, which is quite a slow thing. And of course, if you did need to be fast, you could use multiple if you so wanted. So that means you don't have to hook power up to your train loading system, unless you're loading something here, of course. So we'll go back along here, and you can see I've got this gun system here, which I'll talk about more later on. But now we'll go and look at a slight variation on this same mining system. So here you can see we have more miners. They're making quite a racket for me. Maybe it's not so bad for you, but we have a whole row of them, and it works pretty much the same as the copper system did. But as you can see, this is actually fueled by solid fuel, and it's funny, this isn't like this just is how it happened for me. I have 2 solid fuel factories, maybe even 1, are enough to keep this whole system supplied, and it does go on a bit. I'll show you in a second. So yeah, this is just how it worked out. I'm not actually trying to demonstrate the uses, like the different fuels you can use, but you might as well see that. So of course all the burner inserts are fueling themselves, and they're fueling the burner mining drills using this solid fuel, which is made of oil, of course. And you can see how to produce that in my old tutorial, by the way. A bit of self-advertisement there. You see this all goes along here. It's all unimportant. So here we have the smelting system. You can see the difference is that it is separate, of course. So you can see these are all taking the ore and putting them into the smelters, and of course the solid fuel as well, fueling themselves, and then these are being unloaded again by electric inserters, and again that is a bit of a problem with the system. Now, an interesting thing we have down here is the steel making system. Now in this one I happen to be using coal just because I decided to use coal. It's not really important. But the important thing is, you can see this is not fueled, and in fact if you look at it, and I've only just realised this, it is so close to fueling itself. It has the coal in its hand, inches from where it needs to be, but it didn't make it. And you may be wondering why, and the reason is because it's trying to feed a furnace that is producing steel. And the problem with that is the steel furnace uses, I believe, 5 iron. Yep, it uses 5 iron to produce the steel. And of course that means that the burner inserter has to spend a lot more time transporting iron around. And rather than catering to its own whims, it caters to the whims of the object it's feeding first. So even if it's getting low on fuel, if the furnace wants iron, it will give it iron. And it will only fuel itself if the furnace wants coal, and it goes to feed it and then thinks, oh wait, I need the coal for myself. In this case it was very close, but it didn't make it, and that is another problem with this system. If you have something that requires a lot of one thing that isn't a fuel, and only occasionally requires some fuel, the burner inserters may occasionally switch off because they can't, they're too busy supplying the other need rather than the fuel need, which they can use to fuel themselves. So there's another little problem with it, and well, again, that will be fixed, I expect, if they're doing the fix that I expect they'll do, because they'll get feedback about this, and saying that, you know, it would be nice if the inserters would feed themselves even when, like just when they need to feed themselves. And if that has changed, there's an annotation here to say so. If there isn't an annotation, it hasn't changed. So, if we just wander down here for a minute, that's the thing, I'm walking through my factory and just spotting uses of burner inserters. So you can see here, we have a plastic producing chemical plant. And of course the requirements are coal and petroleum gas. The petroleum gas is coming in by pipe. But the important thing is that the coal can come in using burner inserter. So you can see the coal comes along here, the burner inserter picks it up, puts it into there, and it can fuel itself as well. So there's another use. Any sort of production where a fuel is needed to produce it, and admittedly that is fairly rare, but you know, when it happens, you can use the burner inserters for that. And of course, you know, these are fairly obvious things, but the things you don't necessarily think of. I don't think I thought of these things when I first found out about what inserters could do. So, well, burner inserters. So, you know, I'm just pointing out all the various different uses. So, onwards. Okay, so this is, I believe, the final use that I'm going to show you today of burner inserters. Well, apart from this little thing here. You can see we've got a chest, we've got a burner inserter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop some wood in there, so that's going to take the wood out. It's going to cart it off, and then of course it will be able to fuel itself with that wood. So there you go, I've demonstrated all 3 fuels. It's sort of by accident, really. And then you can see here we've got a system producing ammo. And the reason for that will become clear as I come up here. So you can see this wood's moving along. We follow this up here, and you can see it gets split off, goes in 2 directions, and here we have turrets, and you got a little glimpse of this earlier when I was showing you the train fueling thing. But you can see here that we have some burner inserters. So the way this works is, actually I think it's broken on that one. Let's go over to this one. So you can see we have a splitter here. So we've got the wood on one side, the ammo on the other. It goes into here, it comes out here, and the important thing is the wood for this inserter. So of course both inserters require fuel. This one will request wood, and so this inserter will grab the wood and feed it, and of course if it needs it, it will grab the wood and feed itself. And what that means is that this inserter will stay fueled, and then the purpose of this one is to put ammo into the guns. This means that if you have enough ammo and you're willing to put a huge set of belts and burner inserters around your entire base, which admittedly is a bit if you're willing to, then you can set up an automated refilling thing that is quite low maintenance relative to what like usually you would want a logistics system or something like that. So you'd need drones flying around and feeding it into chests, which would then have inserters put it into the guns. And you know, maybe you don't want to do that because of course the power requirements are insane. Of course this doesn't require any power because it's all powered by coal, or in the case of guns, magic, because they just go. So you can see I've stretched this along quite a nice way. It goes all around my base pretty much, and you can see it going along here, and here's how you deal with corners. It's a bit fiddly, and that is the main problem with this. And of course it will be fixed greatly if inserters would fuel themselves, which again may be coming in a new update annotation. If it is, oh God, I'm gonna have to look through this whole thing to remember all the times I said there'd be an annotation if the update happens. So you can see if they would fuel themselves without being requested to carry the fuel, then this whole bit here wouldn't be necessary. We just have a belt going all the way through, a little bit of a go there, so it would reach this one, but it will be a lot less fiddly. So, you know, cross your fingers for that. So, I'm pretty sure that is all the things that I wanted to show you today. That's all the major uses of burner inserters. There may be the odd other thing that I haven't thought of, in which case, you know, point it out in the comments or whatever. If there's anything that wasn't clear, or anything that you thought was wrong, then you can go put that in the comments as well. Also, if there's any other aspects of Factorio that you would like to know about, please say that too, because of course I'm going to be making more tutorials. I want to make lots of tutorials, and I need ideas, because, you know, there's a lot of different things, and seeing as I've learned most of the systems involved in Factorio at this point, I sort of forget what people don't know and what people want to know about things. So, you know, put that in the comments and so on. But anyway, that's enough waffling for today. So, this has been the burner inserter tutorial. Now I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.